That ugly art video we made. What was it, the promise we tagged at the end of it?
You said if that video got 100 likes, we'd make one about scary paintings.
And how many likes did it get?
17.
I'm willing to round up if you are.
All right, let's go.
Ever look a painting dead in the eye and shit yourself in fright? A painting, not real life, just two-dimensional oil on canvas. And yet we've all experienced the shivers, the terrors of experiencing a truly terrifying work of inspired art, made not by CGI or AI, just hands and brushes. And yes, I've had a wardrobe change, it's no big deal. That was like 6 hours ago. When frightening art is considered, Edward Munch's The Scream comes to mind first thing usually, and it's fine. Kind of spooky, I guess. Yet, the depths of imaginable horrors on canvas sink ever so deeper. For this video, I want to explore the depth and span of art history, instead of relying solely on what is most terrifying, most graphic. To dwell solely on extremes would rely on an entire video on death metal and grindcore album art, and that's not what this channel is about. Scariness isn't about what is most graphic. The fog of time and history adds an extra depth to an art's visual impact, whether it be beauty or beastly. After The Scream, another horrifying work of art that usually comes to mind is Henry Fuseli's The Nightmare, and that's where we're going to begin proper. With the obvious, let's get it out of the way. I am the professor, this is my dark academia, and these are the most terrifying images ever put to paint. Henry Fuseli was a plate neoclassic, Mort? We need a copy editor. We need to hire a professional copy editor. I'm a professional copy editor. Henry Fuseli was a late neoclassic, early romantic era Swiss painter known for his dramatic, dreamlike work. Painted in 1781 after experiencing unrequited love, The Nightmare is an exploration into both psychological and supernatural night terrors. And yes, I will pronounce it unrequited. You're free to do the same. The painting depicts a sleeping woman draped on a bed with a golem-like incubus, a demonic entity perched menacingly on her chest as a maniacal horse with glowing milky eyes stares from the background. And he did several versions of this image, this being the most iconic version. Not that one, this one. The horse in the background cues the double meaning of the painting's title, being a mare of the night, as well as a cuckold-like voyeur joyfully witnessing the incubus's malevolent sexual influence on the poor sleeping woman. Planting damning sexual thoughts is what incubuses do best. Incubuses. Incubes? Incubi? Octopi? Octopi. Fuseli masterfully transforms a common, unsettling sensation into a hyperdramatic vision of pure terror. The Triumph of Death. Bruegel the Elder. We rewind from early Romanticism to the late Northern Renaissance with The Triumph of Death by Pieter Bruegel the Elder. You'll remember this artist as having claimed top spot in our video on the ugliest paintings of all time, link up above, with Bruegel's Beggars. Not to be confused with Bruegger's Bagels. That's a different work of art for a different video. Perhaps tastiest art? Bruegel the Elder, 1525 to 1569, was a Dutch and Flemish Renaissance painter who took a page from his contemporary Hieronymus Bosch when he created The Triumph of Death in 1562. This panoramic work offers an apocalyptic view of a desolate landscape through an approach best described as everything, all of it, all at once. He fashionably displays an army of skeletons leading the living toward a giant death trap where demonic heralds preach pestilence in the guise of apostles, while dogs feast on the innards of corpses And one bloke takes time during all this carnage to impress Bay with a delicious lute solo. The painting is terrifying for its grim depiction of a merciless death, showing people in all methods of class, dress, and occupation swept away with each swipe of death's indiscriminate scythe. Women, children, virgins, all of them disposable meat bags rotting in the fields and in the ditches and in the streets. Bruegel created this work during a period in history of regular widespread war, plague, famine, something tragic every odd year, which fueled a public preoccupation with death and mortality. Death was as daily as the sun in the east, and more frequent than bathing. And it's evident in art common to the period. This piece stands as a chilling memento mori, a grim reminder that we are all marching toward a cold hole in the ground, where all worldly wealth and reward are futile in the face of death's ultimate triumph. Judith beheading Holofernes by Artemisia Gentileschi. Artemisia Gentileschi, 1593 to about 1653, was an Italian Baroque painter who created the brutally realistic version of Judith beheading Holofernes between 1614 and 1620. Violence in art up until this point was mostly idealized, setting the scene just enough to present the event without causing too many nightmares. Yet no, Gentileschi went full Tarantino, hard R rating, with his visceral depiction of two women, Judith and her maidservant, decapitating the Assyrian general Holofernes. There is no trickle of red, no dribble of whoopsie-daisy. We get full arterial blood spray. The terror is in the rawness of the ordeal, with the women's determined struggle and the chilling focus on the act itself, their gaze determined, no flinching. The painting's composition, rendered with powerful chiaroscuro, creates a raw scene of struggle, using a deep dramatic palette of reds and browns to highlight the brutal realism of the violent act. Many art historians believe Gentileschi channels her anger and desire for her own revenge from her traumatic experience of being assaulted and then enduring a public trial. With her powerful brushstrokes, Gentileschi transforms a biblical narrative into a cathartic and profoundly personal act of feminine retribution. Only 3 entries deep, and I'm already feeling nauseatingly overwhelmed. If you made it this far and enjoy the video, be sure to like and subscribe, and most importantly, hit the notification bell. But check out all the other videos. We have a lot of great art history and other related disciplines that you might enjoy. But also, Ducky! Yeah, subscribe for Ducky. Saturn devouring his son. Francisco Goya. You'll recognize not just this artist, but this very work of art from our Ugly Paintings video. Francisco Goya, 1746 to 1828, created Saturn Devouring His Son, a work both terrifying and somehow comical, between 1819 and 1823 as one of his black paintings. Painted directly onto the walls of his home, this private work came during a profound period of mental and physical despair for the Spanish artist. It depicts the Roman god Saturn, Coronis for our Hellenophiles, as a monstrous, crazed figure viciously devouring one of his godly sons, perhaps Zeus himself. He got better.
Got better?
Goya's Saturn Devouring His Son is a claustrophobic painting, expressionistically charged, that uses dark tones and stark contrast to depict a muscular, deranged titan frantically consuming his own mutilated offspring. The most terrifying aspect of this macabre act of snacking is its symbolism mirroring humanity's self-destructive tendencies caused through the devastating effects of war, obsession, paranoia, and irrational fear. In this grotesque image, Goya captures the primal act of ultimate incomprehensible terror. For this next one, I won't even attempt to pronounce it. I'm just kidding. It's Zdzisław Beksiński. Zdzisław Beksiński. That's it. Zdzisław Beksiński. Just try it out. Just open your mouth and it's not that hard. It's not that hard. The Hellmouth motif in visual art is a tradition as old as the Madonna and Child, except at the opposite end of the Christian faith spectrum. This depiction of a great beast's mouth gathering sinners in its gaping maw to swallow their souls to Hades as they dance gleefully naked in Satan's eternal flames has been drawn, painted, redrawn, and repainted since the early medieval period at least. As such, each artist to depict this quasi-creature has taken influence from the previous and created a fairly predictable design. It is in Poland we travel for this next entry, featuring the work of Polish fantasy realism master Zdzisław Beksiński, 1929 to 2005. Beksiński was a prolific creator of unsettling dystopian landscapes in a style I refer to as Tool music videos, or that scene from Constantine, you know which one, yes that one. He claimed to paint his own nightmares, and given a tragic personal history marked by the death of his wife and shortly thereafter self-unaliving of his son, it is little surprise he opted to apply his macabre approach to the classic Hellmouth motif. Beksiński never gave his paintings titles, which adds to their ominous otherworldly lore. They're literally all just called oil painting, except the ones that aren't oil paintings. In this work, the visual composition is dominated by a colossal gaping maw carved into a barren post-apocalyptic landscape. The cavernous void devoid of detail or emotion swallows skeletal figures, somewhat human, somewhat arachnoid, their features a twisted tangle of desiccated flesh and bone. The terrifying quality of Beksiński's work lies in its overwhelming scale and impersonal horror. It is not the fear of a literal monster, but the fear of existence itself in its final moments, a twisted reality gone mad, of an incomprehensible evil so immense and so indifferent, both cosmic and terrestrial, detached from, yet part of, the living dead landscape. Is that too many contrasting metaphors? I don't know. Lucifer by Franz von Stuck, 1890. Moving to Munich, we arrive at the symbolist painter Franz von Stuck, 1863 to 1928, and my personal favorite entry. He tread an unorthodox path to terror. Where others may depict monsters or violent acts, von Stuck's Lucifer is an exploration of pure malevolent evil. There is no action or drama, just sitting, staring with malicious intent. The painting frames the morning star's form in perpetual darkness, only his muscular torso and face illuminated, his wings detached and obscured in shadow. The angel is fallen. But that gaze, that is the most disturbing detail. Lucifer looks directly at the viewer with piercing, unblinking eyes, his expression a mixture of contempt, pride, and an unnerving intelligence. This painting was so unsettling that it is said to have frightened an entire nation. King Ferdinand I of Bulgaria bought the painting and displayed it proudly, and immediately regretted it. Its intense, penetrating stare allegedly caused such widespread anxiety and distress that it had to be removed from public view. The painting's horror lies in its intimate psychological terror, that chilling feeling of being watched, judged, and worse, understood by the very personification of evil. He is not a beast, he is a presence, and his gaze is a powerful reminder that the most dangerous evil is not mindless, but patient, intelligent, and calculating. Isle of the Dead, Arnold Boecklin. We move away from figure studies to a landscape of all things. Its terror lies mayhaps partially in its grim desolation and foreboding symbolism, but also primarily for its historical context. Arnold Boecklin, 1827 to 1901, was a Swiss symbolist painter whose most famous work, Isle of the Dead, Die Toteninsel, became a morbid icon. He produced its first version in 1880. It was so popular he created 5 more versions through until his death in 1901. This composition is simple yet profound. A lone figure in a small boat, accompanied by a casket, approaches a dark, rocky island guarded by shadowy, somber cypress trees, ancient symbols of death. The water is motionless, and the silence is so palpable it erases any surrounding sound. In one hand, it is the chilling representation of the final solitary journey into death. There are no trumpets, no angels, just a quiet, dark voyage through still waters into the unknown. In the Dexter hand, its true horror is its dark legacy. It is a well-documented fact that this painting was a favorite of Adolf Hitler, who acquired the third version in 1933 and kept it in his Berlin office. The painting's solemn, quiet mood resonated deeply with the Nazi elite, and by his influence it became an icon of the movement. The mystical aesthetic of the lonely island, the serene finality of its journey, and the cold fatalism inherent in its composition spoke to the darkest elements of the Third Reich. It provided a perfect aesthetic for their ideology of death and destiny, a beautiful artistic veneer for a culture thriving on industrialized murder. The final self-portrait, William Utermohlen. I saved the greatest for last, a work so terrifying it deserves not only its own video, but its own movie or collegiate degree or TikTok channel. The previous examples were terrifying for their depictions of mythical, religious, or fantastical terror, hypothetical dooms and despairs unrelated, hopefully, to the average daily human experience. But this next entry harbors a terror very real, very possible, and experienced by millions of families every single day. William Utermohlen, 1933 to 2007, was an American figurative painter working in London, known for his surrealist expressionistic depictions of daily life. His work throughout his career was celebrated for its color, energy, and drama, even when subjects portrayed were as simple as reading in bed or sharing coffee, as if Norman Rockwell, Salvador Dali, and Vincent van Gogh had a three-person baby. That was before the diagnosis. Diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in 1995, Utermohlen took a bold and profoundly tragic path. He began to paint his own mental decline in a series of self-portraits. His initial versions were textbook Utermohlen, surrealist settings in his hallmark vibrant palettes with true-to-life facial depictions. They looked like him at that moment. By year 2, they had begun to distort. While his features remained intact, they lost their true dimensions. Though surrealist by tradition, these attempts dabbled with the abstract, uncharacteristic of an artist who preferred human realism amidst impressionistic settings. In years 3 through 4, they acquire a cheery, childlike quality, Picasso at first, but then less. By around 2000, or 5 years into the project, he produced his final self-portrait, a chilling culmination of this long, slow goodbye. The painting is a horrifying exploration of a lost mind. Unlike the vibrant colors and distinct lines of his earlier work, this final portrait is a ghostly skeletal figure. The face is a mess of smudged, indistinct lines, as if his own hand could no longer remember how to draw. The eyes are but two hollows devoid of life or recognition, staring into a blank void. This is a portrait of a mind disintegrating, disassembling itself, of a person watching themselves disappear from the inside out. There is no gore, no demon, only the slow, quiet terror of watching yourself fade away, being erased by an enemy you can fight, but never win against. I'm gonna go eat cupcakes and watch My Little Pony. If this video receives 50 likes, we do the most terrifying sculptures next, or perhaps the worst art restorations. You decide which in the comments. And do, in fact, be sure to check the link in the description for the Patreon page. If I work less at my day job, I do more of this. Day jobs, plural. Plans start at only $1. And if you like this video, be sure to enjoy the aforementioned ugliest paintings video. I have been the Professor. You're always welcome in my corner of the Isle of the Dead.